Hey gang, coming up on our Finding Better podcast, Greg Bennick is joining me, and we're going to talk about something so simple when it comes to relationships and strong relationships and lasting relationships. It's going to blow your mind. What am I talking about? Start with kindness. Start with kindness. Every relationship doesn't require two people. It requires one to get it started. And if you get it started, you never know what's going to happen. Start with kindness and continue with kindness. And not only will it help you start relationships, it will help you keep relationships. Unbelievable conversation. Okay, please share this. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences of people who have been there and done that in terms of whatever it is we're talking about. This is not about opinions. This is not about academics. It's not about theories. It's about folks who just want to share some of their experiences to help you find better in your own life, right? And one of the things that I found is that a lot of times the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of people who have been there and done that, right? And learn from them. And so this is what this is all about. Now, my guest today is Greg Bennick. Greg Bennick. Greg, welcome to Finding Better. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. What a great intro so far. Keep going. Why stop here?
Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation. And the topic today is all about finding a better path in business and life. Okay, this is a Finding Better podcast, but it's about authenticity, meaning, and laughter. In fact, Greg wrote a book called Authenticity, Meaning, and Laughter: Finding a Better Path in Business and in Life. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And I am Greg. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have you. Reclaim the moment. 7 strategies to build a better now. I correct myself. That's the name of the book.
Correct.
And so let me just give everybody a quick intro to you. For 30 years, Greg traveled the world studying people and what they need. And he came to realize that people want to matter. They want to matter and they want to be part of something meaningful. And he learned that when you start with that foundation, you create a base to increase performance and build really powerful motivation. I mean, ask yourself, right? Do you want to matter and do you want to be part of something meaningful? I think all of us do. There might be exceptions out there, um, but Greg is a team building keynote, and he helps teams focus, have fun, and get inspired together. And to me, Greg, one of the most important things that is that he knows the importance and how to laugh and learn. Laugh and learn. We're going to talk about that. And he reminds people to focus on what matters most. That was a really jangled up introduction, but I'm going to go with it anyway.
I love it. Let's
All
go with
right,
it.
Greg. All right, first question to you. What matters most?
Now, I could repeat back to you, and I was listening to that introduction, which was not too jangled. It might have felt that way, but it was great.
Okay.
I could repeat back to you and say what matters most is feeling like we matter and that we're contributing to something meaningful. But you also said in the introduction that this isn't going to be academic, right? So rather than
Yes.
describe to you the importance of self-esteem and human psychology and why we need to feel like we matter, etc., I'll tell you what matters most is believing in the possibility of kindness. And the first chapter of my
Ooh.
book, yeah, the first chapter of my book, and let me preface this by saying, and this is not a pitch for the book, but just to lay a foundation. I wrote a book with 7 strategies to help us come back to center when we feel like we've been thrown off track by the world. And I wrote it as a reminder to myself, strategies that I use to create possibilities in my life.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you. And the first one is to believe in the possibility of kindness. And what I mean is that it's always possible to be kind and to imagine kindness between people, like this conversation, for example, rather than come into this thinking, he's going to be this, he's going to ask me these questions, he's going to come into it from the standpoint of, he's going to be kind to me and I'm going to be kind to him. And let's just see what happens from that standpoint rather than having a critical mind or a mindset that of lacking, I guess, about the potential for human connection. So believing in the possibility of kindness is huge. I've been, and I don't popularize this that much, but to my clients, I let them know I've been going out and speaking to students for the last decade or so about kindness. My website is all about keynotes that I do for corporate and association audiences. But in the time between those keynotes, rather than just sit around and play PlayStation or do whatever else
Sure.
people do or I could do, I go into schools and I speak to K through 12 students about kindness and the possibility of kindness, the first chapter of my book. And I do that because I want to live in a world where a generation comes up believing in the possibility of kindness, then amidst what they might be seeing, being a lack thereof. They might see that in the media, on social media, with the bullying that happens, with the politics and the news that happens. I want students, young people, to believe that kindness is a possibility because that sounds like a more interesting world to live in than one in which selfishness or being mean is the guiding factor.
I
So
have
yeah,
never had anybody say that the most important thing is to believe in the possibility of kindness.
good. I'm very happy
That
about that.
is that is so cool, especially as you were saying in the world that we're living in today. I mean, that's honestly, Greg, that's one of the reasons why I started this whole podcast to
I'm
begin
so
with,
glad.
the Finding Better podcast, is because there's just so much crap out there.
Mhm.
And people are just it just a lot of times I come home and I just need to get take a shower to get the energy off.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And I know people feel that. And so I created this podcast to be a real place where people can come, where people are going to be kind and people are going to give, right? Give
That's
the
right.
best of themselves,
That's
right?
right.
Without any expectation of, some people are going to buy your book. Absolutely,
Right.
certainly. But you know what? That's not the primary reason why we're doing this.
Nope.
And I'll tell you, this you may be episode 200. You're right on the. But anyway, this has been I will honestly say this has been the unexpected joy of my life, doing this podcast and meeting people like you,
Wonderful.
because I am no longer as jaded as I used to be. I'm still a little bit jaded, but certainly not as much as I used to be because of what you just said, believing in the possibility of kindness. There is kindness out there,
Absolutely.
right? There is love out there.
Mhm.
We just have to look for it.
That's right. We have to look for it. We have to believe that it's possible. And
Yeah.
even when people are politically, socially, what have you, opposed to our mindset, our way of life, our thinking, whatever it might be, there is still the possibility of kindness. Does that mean we must love our enemies constantly? That's a
No.
theoretical and existential and you know what I mean, almost at times spiritual conversation. What I'm
Right.
talking about is if we believe that kindness is a possibility, then we create the foundation for possibilities to happen. If I go in with a mindset of lack, a mindset that kindness is not possible, well, I'm going to find exactly that.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so
That's exactly right.
this creates the possibility, and I find it all the time when I speak to young people. I genuinely believe that sometimes, given all of the information, the clutter, the spectacle that is out there all around us in
The
media and social
social
media,
media, the advertising,
yeah,
just all of it. I
all of it.
call it messages of inadequacy that we're being
That's right.
constantly bombarded with.
That's right. You know, with all of that around us, we have to believe in something else. We have to get grounded, and that's I think the most important thing is just to remember as we're being thrown images that make us feel inadequate and make us feel not as good as and make us feel as though we have to be doing this or that or this or that in order to achieve happiness or any sort of stability, taking a break from all that for a minute and just being kind to ourselves and other people just sounds like the exact thing we need to be doing
Oh my
more often.
God. Oh my God. Being kind to ourselves and other people, right? We forget
Absolutely.
that.
That's right.
We forget that,
Yeah,
right? We forget. I mean, the world, we get caught up and we start believing all the bullshit in the world,
that's right.
right?
Hmm.
And folks, it's okay to be kind to yourself. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, you focus on kids. I know a whole bunch of adults are out there.
So check this out. Here's something interesting.
Yeah,
So as I was
please.
mentioning, I started doing corporate keynotes and association keynotes and working in the corporate market when I was very young. And over the years, that's how I make my living. Like if you go to gregbennick.com, you'll see my promo video for the association and corporate market. Now, in working with young people in the space in between, right, I started realizing, wow, this is going really well. So now I'm speaking at schools on the West Coast, on the East Coast. I got somebody contacted me yesterday from Ohio, everywhere in between. And what's been fascinating in the last 6, 7 years, more and more adults are asking for that. When they hear that I speak about kindness, all of a sudden I have corporate clients and association clients asking me, saying, okay, well, we know on your website you talk about team building, but we also heard that you do this kindness thing. Is there any chance you could do that for adults? And when I go into schools, oftentimes I'll get done at the end of the day, and an administrator, or principal will take me aside and say, I know that you talk to kids all day long. You don't do this for school boards, do you? You don't do this for staff and
You
faculty, do you?
know,
And I say, yeah, I do.
wow.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I talk to adults about kindness too, because we're all unkind at times and can do better. We are all very kind at times and can do better. We have to create possibilities toward that end in this world. Have to do it.
A lot of my listeners have heard me say they know that I retired after about 40 years in high tech.
Mhm.
And over the years, I helped shepherd in a lot of generations of new technology, from the PC to the internet to social media to mobile computing, all those different kinds of things. And with every generation of new technology, we've gotten smarter and smarter and smarter. But about 10 years ago, I started telling people that, we're going to start seeing a renaissance of heart, a renaissance of heart. And I recently coined a phrase that said, over the years, we've gotten so smart, we've forgotten our heart. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I mean, I called it a renaissance of heart. Kindness is heart. Kindness is
yeah,
heart,
it is. It is
right?
hard. It
So
absolutely is.
maybe it's a renaissance of kindness.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
that's wonderful.
I think that too, right? Because we started this by talking about reminding people that they matter and that the work they do is meaningful, or that what they're doing is significant, or that they are
Right.
significant. Well, here's the other thing: is that if left to our own devices, literally our own devices, and you and I were to doom scroll for the next hour and a half and then come together and have a conversation, I can almost assure you we will each feel worse about ourselves. We will be skewed in our perceptions of what we want to do and what we think we should be doing. And we will be treating each other differently than if we don't do that thing and doom scroll, right? Now, that isn't me saying we shouldn't have social media. It isn't me saying we shouldn't have media. It's me saying, remember to be kind to yourself amidst all of it. And I often speak about a group of writers from France in the 1960s called the Situationist Internationale. These were a group, quite realistically, of literary anarchists who were trying to upend the way society was thinking about media and the world around them, or around people. And one of them, a guy named Guy Debord, wrote a book that is intentionally convoluted. He was trying to confuse his readers, but he had a clear message. He was saying that the world is filled with spectacle. And in this book, The Society of the Spectacle, he talked about the world being spectacle. And at every turn, there are images which make us feel and think that we are engaging with life just by the perception of the images around us. Oh, wow, they're falling in love, those two famous people. That makes us feel as though we're falling in love. Or they're having an adventure over there. Alex Honnold climbing up the tower the other day. He's having an adventure. And his warning, in essence, was that let us not live our lives entirely at arm's length, where the spectacle around us makes us feel as though we are alive and engaged and falling in love. Let us not forget that we have to have those experiences, the adventure, the falling in love, the self-esteem, the sense of meaning. He said it in different terms. And again, the book is very convoluted, but the message is clear. And that's 1968. He's talking about billboards and magazines. He's not talking about TikTok and Instagram and Reels and Facebook and X, Twitter, what have you. Can you imagine what he would say today?
Oh my God.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, uh,
So Yeah, so let
The
us come
con-
back to center amidst that. We have to come back to center amidst all that. And just remember that kindness is the foundation of all of it. Kindness to self from the heart, as you said so clearly, and kindness to other people. It has to start there, or else we'll be thrown totally off track.
I want to ask you a question that you said that you'd mentioned, start by being kind to yourself. Remember to be kind to yourself. Talk about why that's important.
Well, I think that it's important because if we don't have the foundation of self, we are totally off track.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, if I am not kind to myself and I'm only kind to other people, but I'm cruel to myself, it's a situation like when you're on a plane and they say, put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Make sure that you're okay and then you can branch out from there. But also, when I'm kind to myself and I remember the voice in my head, which is the voice that I listen to when it's midnight and I'm staring at the ceiling, like, what should I be doing with my life? And that project I'm working on, the client I'm working for, what do I really want out of that? If I'm not listening to that honest voice and being kind to myself in that regard, I'll be totally off base all throughout the day. So I think it has to start, not it, life needs to start from the perspective of being kind to yourself. It allows you then to then serve others in the best way possible and see where your potential can lead you. I mean,
Well,
it's
you're certainly making a heck of a case for it.
good. I'm glad.
And you talk about oh the spectacle.
Hmm.
And and you look at young people these days, and one of my greatest fears is that we're there is being created a multiple generations of young people who are going to be um what's the word for it? They're not prepared to deal with humanity. They're not prepared to deal with human to human. And and you see them all the time. We all know people, who know people or who have kids who are in the basement, and all the time they spend is on a screen, and they're not getting out there. I recently heard a talk from one of the guys who started OpenAI, and he said the most important thing, the absolute most important thing with the world that's where we're going to right now, the absolute most important thing we can do for our children is to get them outside in the sun and get them playing with other kids.
That's right.
Because if we continue with this trend of babysitting our kids with screens, it's only going to get worse.
I think I mentioned it in my book, the idea of staring at a glowing rectangle versus staring at the glowing orb in the sky. I think I make reference to it in there, you know. And
Okay. Yeah.
and realistically, okay, so let's think about this for a minute. It in part it's just different, right? And I can't say that I can speak for a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old or what have you, but what I can say is their interactions are based on a different web, different framework, different network than say someone
Totally.
who's 50, right?
Totally.
Which doesn't mean it's inherently bad, but it
Right.
means that it could benefit from more face-to-face interactions. It could
Right.
benefit from that. I had an interesting interaction with a group at a school in Beaverton, Oregon. I was speaking at a school to a group of teenagers. I was a guest lecturer there at this private high school. And I asked this group of teens what they thought of social media. And at first they were like, oh, it's cool, it's great, it's cool, it's great. And I'm like, okay, I know there's pictures and videos and it's fun and there's, all these things. What do you really think? And one by one, kids were raising their hands saying, we hate it. We can't stand it. Yeah.
Really?
And the reasons they gave were every move, every movement, every action is watched and liked or not liked or ignored. And we're trapped in it because everyone has it. We can't not use it. And we didn't create it. And they went on to say basically, your generation, not you and me, but our generation ish and the generation which came before created this thing, much like younger people look at the environment today and say, we didn't create this. Our parents and
Right.
grandparents created this
Right.
reality and they're trapped in it. So it was really fascinating. And I can't say that one class then defines an entire generation of people, but it was really fascinating to have teens say to me, We can't stand this. We're trapped in it. We can't get out of it.
My daughter, she went to Santa Clara University,
Mhm.
and this was, I don't know, 14 years ago. And Santa Clara University is right in the middle of Silicon Valley and right down the street from Meta headquarters. And there was an executive that came to talk to the business school. And my daughter always sits in the front seat. She just in the front row, if you
Yeah,
will. It just keeps her attention focused. And this guy from Facebook, he asked the question. He says, "How many of you guys have Facebook accounts or a Facebook account?" And everybody raised their hand in this room of 250 people, except my daughter. And my daughter didn't raise her hand. So the speaker looks at her because she's sitting in the front row, and he says, "Are you just not participating, or do you really not have a Facebook account?" And she said, "I really don't have a Facebook account." And in that moment, she said all of the oxygen just got sucked out of the room, right? Everybody's like, right? He says, "Really? You don't have a Facebook account?" She goes, "Nope. Had one, don't anymore." He goes, "So why? Why don't you have a Facebook account anymore?" She says, "When I decided not to turn off my Facebook account," she says, "I got 8 hours of my life back every single day. 8 hours because I wasn't so worried about what everybody was saying and having to respond every moment." And she came back and told me that story, and I was so proud of her. And
absolutely.
and she she it was just something that she came up with. But yeah, it's really insidious.
It
And
is.
and and yet, and also another reason why I started this podcast, right? So that young people could come to a place that's safe, right? Where no one's going to judge them. And when you start with there's just so much wrapped up in that. I mean, I could spend a month studying kindness.
Oh, I'm so glad. I think about it all the time, and I'm speaking to thousands and thousands and thousands of students and people about kindness all the time, and
That is wonderful.
it's really
That
nice.
is
I like it a lot. Yeah, and I mean, if people can, since we've mentioned it, go to amazingassemblies.com. Sometimes you can see my presentations for
okay.
students, and I don't advertise that very much. I do my mailings, my emailings, and whatnot. But yeah, amazingassemblies.com. In addition to gregbennick.com, GregBennick.com for my keynotes. But what's fascinating is just that my friends who have deleted social media, and again, let's recognize that social media is a fun way to connect and keep in touch with people and all
Sure,
that.
there are good things about it.
Yep. My,
Absolutely.
my friends who have deleted all their social media accounts have one thing in common, all of them, no matter from what walk of life they come from. They're all happy. They're happy. And they spend their days like happy because they're not in constant comparison mode. They're not in a space where they feel like they're not tall enough, fast enough, short enough, thin enough, whatever it might be, which is what we get into as we see what this other person is doing. And I see it all the time in my own life too. As a speaker, if somebody gets the gig that I wanted and then they post about the gig, I'm happy for them. But at the same time, did I want that rubbed in my face on the day when maybe I just thought, see what I'm getting at? It's just like, and it's just a for instance, or for that matter, when I'm posting, oh my gosh, I did this podcast today with John Suzuki, and it's absolutely fascinating. What about the person who doesn't have a podcast to celebrate today? And
Right.
we can't lowest common denominator everything so that we don't do anything or share anything. But there's just other sides to it that don't get showcased and celebrated by our executives and friends at social media conglomerates and whatnot. They don't come in saying, "Hey, everybody, who's got a Facebook account? It's going to partially ruin your life." They don't say that. They say, "Who's got one?" Because they want everyone to have one because that's where the money comes from. That said, I think we can do more to connect with one another. And again, we're still talking about your introductory question, which is great, but I think that it starts with kindness to self and others.
Well, that is wonderful. And I have to tell you, Greg, and folks, Greg and I are meeting for the first time on this conversation. Okay. But Greg, when you and I first when you first when we first connected just
Mhm.
30 minutes ago or whatever,
Yeah,
um, I just felt it.
awesome. I love that.
I feel your kindness. I
Oh,
feel
I'm glad.
and it shows. It shows. You're not high strung, and you're just like, hey, how can I help?
And you know what? We all have our moments, me too, when
Of
I'm
course.
high strung and unkind. It's like, but the point is we can do better. We can constantly do better. And I tell audiences that when I say the reason to constantly remind ourselves of kindness as a possibility is because that then becomes a training ground for when it actually matters, for when we are frustrated or exhausted. And it's so easy to be unkind in those moments. If we're feeling insecure, if we're not being, good to ourselves physically, emotionally, those are the moments where it's easy to be unkind. And in moments like this is the training ground for next Thursday, next Tuesday, next Monday, next Wednesday, when maybe I'm feeling a little unsure and I remember, oh, yeah, that's right. I believed in kindness. I had this great conversation. Okay, let's go and start the day differently.
And I want to just share something with the audience that's listening. It's your choice. It is your choice. And Greg, I say this all the time that our life, the product of our life today is the product of all the choices and decisions we've made
It's true.
up until this point. And some people say, well, I couldn't choose my parents. What are you talking about? Right? Okay, okay, okay. Do you believe in this? That the product of your life in the future is gonna be the product of the choices and decisions you make from now on. And
Hmm.
of course, the answer is yes. So, folks, you can choose to start with kindness, right? We can all choose to start with kindness. And the other thing I want to say is that, it's try to be unkind to someone who's really kind to you. Try it. I mean, try to be an asshole to someone who's really genuinely and in your heart is trying to be is being kind to you.
I'm laughing because I was just going to try to say something like, John, I just can't stand it. You're such a jerk. Yeah, I couldn't even bring myself to do it. Right. I was,
Yeah, right? And
yeah,
so when you think about that, think about you. Think about the other person. When you're being kind to other people, it's going to be really damn hard for them to be an asshole to you.
that's right. Yeah. It'll be
And all
hard.
of a sudden, it just starts to spin up as opposed to spinning down
I
into,
love that.
into oblivion, right?
I love that. And I do tell audiences, I say it's up to you, right? It's up to you to make these choices. But I love the idea of spinning up instead of spinning down because it's very easy to spiral downward. It certainly is. We've all felt it.
It
So
totally is. It
mhm,
totally is. But you know what? We can spin upwards too, Greg.
I like that.
You and I can spin people up and you know, I think I mentioned to you, I might have mentioned to you. If I didn't, I'm going to mention to you now. But my daughter came up to me and she says, Dad, do you really believe that when you lift one person, you really do lift the world?
Hmm,
And I said, Kristen, I believe that from the bottom of my heart. And kindness, what a wonderful place to start.
it's great. It's
You know,
it's it's
and
great.
like I said, you're the first person who has started with kindness. It's always been, relationships and love and all these. And by the way, try to think about being kind. This is this is cool. This
Good.
is
I'm
very
glad.
cool.
I believe
Very
it
cool.
too. Yeah, it's
S-
great.
So, um, you got six other strategies,
I do.
right? Um, maybe we've gone a while. I don't even know where my timer is, but we've been jamming. This has been so much fun. But can you briefly share um, at least some of the other six, if not all of them,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
and kind of help us understand, what are the other things that we can be thinking about with
Sure. So
kindness being the foundation?
yeah, I'll explain at least, by title and dive into a few of them. So one of them is leap into the dark to embrace the possibility of success. The idea being that we want stability, we want to be sure of where we are and what our experience in life is. And oftentimes it's not fear of failure that prevents us from trying, it's fear of success. Because if I succeed at something, that means I am then in a new space. And then the rules are not set yet. The walls are not defined yet. So if I succeed and I'm in a new space, it's inherently unsure because then I'll build from that success.
And
And
uncomfortable.
oftentimes, yeah, it's uncomfortable. It can be intimidating. So I have a chapter about leap into the dark. Just go for it to embrace the possibility of success. And that's in a nutshell or less.
Well, that's,
Um,
I
yeah,
just want to make a quick comment because I got to
sure.
make a comment on everything.
Please do.
But as people people progress in their careers. Just a simple example of getting promoted, right? One of the big fear factors that people have is the unknown of what their relation, how the relationships are going to change when they suddenly become the boss of the people that they're friends with,
There you go.
right?
Yep.
You're saying go for it.
Yeah.
You'll
Go
figure
for
it
it.
out. You'll
We'll
stumble.
figure it
You'll
out.
screw up, and it's okay. Because I mean, I screw up every freaking day.
Every day.
And but the thing is that if I screw up and then I do it again and again and again, then I'm just being stupid. I mean, learn from it, right? And that's how we learn to be better. Okay, had to say that. Sorry, Greg,
No,
go.
that's great. So one of them, one of the strategies is a juggling metaphor. When I started presenting when I was a young kid, I was
Ooh,
juggling, and at one of my first performances, I didn't keep my eye on the knife that I was juggling, and I cut my finger. That's the bare bones basic version of a story that's more dramatic and exciting in the book. But in cutting my finger as a young person while doing a juggling show in my small Connecticut town, and then had people for years commenting on, remember that time you cut your finger? I remember that moment and took from it a lesson, and that is keep your eyes on the knife to resist the allure of distraction. And all around us is the allure of distraction. At every turn, there's the allure of distraction. So
I
keep your eyes on
like
the knife.
that.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the knife. The thing that is of the most importance to you, that if it falls or fails, to use that juggling metaphor, it has the most potential literal impact, right? We all have things that we're prioritizing. You've mentioned your daughter a number of times, the podcast and your love for it, kindness. In every moment, I think we can redefine what the knife is, but make sure that you're keeping your eyes on the thing that is most important to you so that we're not distracted and we don't fall into that allure of distraction because the distractions and the spectacle are everywhere around us, waiting for our eyeballs and attention.
I got something to say about that.
Good.
Of course. This stupid thing, well, not stupid. It's our lifeline to
It
the
is.
world,
Yeah.
right? And for
Mine's right
those
here.
of you who aren't watching, it's my iPhone. Um, when I'm playing with my grandkids,
Yeah.
all the time I am I'm fighting the temptation of grabbing my cell phone and looking at it and seeing
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's addictive, and
It is.
to all of us. But I'll tell you something. With your family, set it aside, stick it in a bucket, preferably a bucket that doesn't have water in it.
I was just going to say
But
stick it in a bucket of water and
yeah, a
rise
dry
right up.
bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. When I consciously make that decision to not allow myself to get distracted by that crazy thing, I can be focused, I can be present, and I'm there for my grandkids, and we have a great time,
Absolutely.
right? And I encourage families at dinner time, put the phones up. Your focus is on the family, and we're talking about how their day went.
I love it.
And we just don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the ping of the phone is addictive, as we all know, right? When it pings and we recognize a message is coming in. But the issue is that we then are getting our validation from the text messages and from the DMs and whatnot. So if somebody is messaging me, and I certainly don't want to miss that, oh my gosh, they see me, they recognize me, they acknowledge me, they're writing to me. It gives me this little boost of self-esteem. Well, at the end of the day, the number of text messages and DMs I've gotten that both say that I'm amazing or that I'm interesting or do you want to go get Thai food or pizza, those are validating my existence in my own mind, which is dangerous because then I'm not truly being kind to myself and being self generative, I guess, and finding my self esteem from within. And granted, we're human, we are social creatures. We're always going to find self esteem from external sources too. But I hope that we find generative self esteem from within instead of always relying on external sources and the phone and the hopes that this thing is going to ding or make a sound that reminds me, oh, I exist, I matter to somebody. Well, I should recognize that I exist and I matter to other people and am in service to them without the text message coming in,
Right.
and the text distract. I have a very dear friend here in Seattle named Corey. Corey is a dear friend of many, many years. And about 6, 7, 8 years ago, we were at lunch and my phone is dinging and I'm just checking my phone. And I'm having conversation with him, but I'm checking my phone. And at one point he said, Could you do me a favor and just put your phone down? And in fact, could we set a rule because you're always on your phone whenever we're together? Could we just set a no phones rule for the lunches that we have? And ever since then, when I go in for lunch with Corey, I put my phone down, I put it away, and I just have lunch with Corey, and we have the most amazing time. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Just put it down for a few minutes. We're not saying, literally throw it in water, smash it with a hammer. We're saying use it as a tool, but you're not going to carry the screwdriver and the wrench around with you all day long, checking them out every 5 seconds either. So just use it as a tool and a source of entertainment. But my gosh, if it's a lifeline to our self esteem, that's a whole world of problems.
I want to challenge folks. I want to challenge folks. Okay. When you at dinner time, turn your phone off. Try it. Just turn it off when you're going to have when you're meeting with somebody and you are having a personal relationship happening. You either business relationship, personal, whatever it is, out to lunch, out to breakfast, turn it off.
I love
You
it.
know, I've been guilty of what Corey just said as well.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
I think every person on planet Earth has been guilty of it. But that idea that I just came up with came from you, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm not just going to set it aside. I'm going to turn it off.
I love it.
And I'll turn it. But how long did it take to turn off your phone? 2.5 seconds,
That's it.
right? Turn it off. And then when you're back at it, turn it back on. And then, you know what, folks? That'll give you a little bit more control over your life.
Just a bit of breathing room.
And
Just a bit of breathing room.
it'll let you be more present. It'll let you be more present. And presence is kindness,
and
right?
and, and also there's lots of people vying for our eyeballs at every second. Our eyeballs and our attention.
Everybody,
Mhm. Yep.
everybody. It's
So
crazy.
so one of the other strategies in the book is develop relationships that matter to outsmart the dread of isolation. Humans are
Say that
insecure.
again. Say that again.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Develop relationships that matter
Yeah.
to outsmart the dread of isolation. We fear isolation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, because humans are insecure, frightened creatures. We're all hurtling towards an uncertain end, and we want, connection. We are social creatures as well. But when we are not acknowledged, when we are in isolation, I think that to some degree we crumble a bit. And being alone is terrifying. The idea of it is terrifying. So I think that when we're actively developing relationships and relationships that matter, not just connection and likes and clicks and that sort of thing, but even with our digital means, developing relationships through them and with them, by way of them, that matter, that where there's genuine connection. You and I have never met in person. We are entirely a digital relationship and connection, but this is great. It's possible. Point is, develop relationships, however we need to, that matter, because that then creates a sense of possibility in my mind the next time I'm isolated or alone or whatever it might be. I might just remember this conversation and think, you know what? In the span of 40 minutes, we created some magic. And we did that just through actively seeking out connection. That's really cool. What other connections could I make? What possibilities might those connections lead to? That's what the book's about. That's honestly, I think, the work that we should be doing in the midst of a world which would have us easily do otherwise if we let it.
Oh my gosh. You know, um, when you talk, relationships can be face to face, they can be eyeball to eyeball, knee to knee. But you know what? I mean, you and I over Zoom have created a relationship.
That's it.
We've created a relationship. There's no question in my mind that this is a relationship I want to continue,
Me too.
right? And
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. Ideal, get outside, take your kids out to play, have them play, right? But I just recorded a short reel just a little bit ago, and my short reel was about loneliness and how loneliness is an epidemic in this country, right? Even though we have all this connectivity, we there's so many lonely people out there.
Mhm.
And one of the things I said was, I'm always looking for solutions. I'm always looking for things that I can share. An old friend of mine told his grandson who was going to a party where he didn't know anybody, His grandson said, I don't want to go because I don't know anybody there. He goes, okay, well, do you think there's going to be other kids there that are uncomfortable? He goes, yeah, probably. He goes, all right, so go talk to them.
Mhm.
Go look for somebody who maybe looks lonely or uncomfortable and go talk to them and just say, hey, how you doing? So after the party, grandson came home and talked to David, and asked him how it went. He says, "Man, it went great.
Awesome.
I made all
Great.
kinds of friends,
I love
right?"
it. Love it.
And it's just wow. Uh, how many? We've gone through four of the seven.
Yeah, and there's a few
Okay,
more, but yeah.
there's two more six. In any case, we're kind of getting a little bit past time. I would love to have you back, Greg.
I'd love
I
it. Anytime.
This is
Anytime.
I have so enjoyed this
Me
conversation.
too. I've loved it. And let's
And
keep in
and I
touch for
feel
sure.
like I feel like the best part of it is that we've given folks tangible ideas,
Good.
right?
Good.
And God bless you for writing your book.
Thank you so
I
much. I
mean,
appreciate it.
really, really wonderful. All right, so you close us out. We're going to talk. Make a note, please,
Mhm.
so that the next time you're on, we're going to re-summarize all this stuff and talk about
Okay.
it from different perspectives,
Sure.
because it's one of those things when you read a book twice, you see different things the second time
Yep.
that you read it. It'll be the same thing when we talk again, but we'll focus on the last two.
Okay.
So with that, close us out, please.
Sure. I'm just really, really happy to have had this conversation, not just with you, but with your listeners and viewers. And anyone can get in touch with me anytime. And we can start digitally, electronically, even though we've been critical of that at times throughout the conversation,
There's
but no
good stuff
problem.
and bad
There
stuff. We've
is.
been critical
There
of the
is.
bad stuff.
Yeah, but
Keep the good stuff.
gregbennick.com, my website is a way to reach me, of course.
Say
And
that
there's
again.
gregbennick.com, GregBennick.com. And there's a contact form there. I'd love to hear from anybody anytime. That's an easy way to do it. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. But you're more than welcome to contact me through my website and start from there.
And you may even want to buy his book.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and and I'm sorry for, I mixed up my notes, but the name of his book is Reclaim the Moment: 7 Strategies to Build a Better Now.
That's right.
Where can they get that book, Greg?
They can get that book. I mean, certainly it's available through Amazon, of course, but
Okay.
any local bookstore should be able to order it. They might not carry it in stock. In fact, I would expect they would not, right? Because bookstores, it's a function of real estate and space.
Yep.
But they certainly could order it because the book is on Wiley. Wiley's a major publisher and can get the book just about anywhere on the planet. But certainly it's available through Amazon. Bookshop.org, isn't that the independent website as well? It's available there, and it's available through me. Contact me and I'll connect you that way too.
Awesome. Awesome. Greg, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining me. This has been a real joy. It's
Me
been a
too,
real
sir. Me
joy
too.
getting to know you. And again, thank you for writing your book. Thank you for sharing with the world your views, because I believe that we all share a common purpose,
Mhm.
and that is to make the world better than the day we landed on it.
I love it.
And it sounds like you're doing that in spades, and so that's a really wonderful thing.
Thank
So
you so
thank you
much.
for joining me. God bless you. I love you, everybody out there. Thank you for joining us. Check it out. Rewind this thing. Listen to it again. There's so many little jewels in it. It's really, really cool. Start with kindness. And like I said, try to be an asshole to someone who's being kind to you, right? And
Uh-huh.
just know that the same holds true. It's really hard to be an asshole to you when you're being kind to others. And so that's a really wonderful thing. So with that, folks, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.